Shashi Kumar, the head of the Department of English, Dr. Sarita, congratulations on this extremely original and clever idea for a seminar. ഈ എടുത്താ പൊങ്ങാത്തൊരു പേര് കണ്ടപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ തന്നെ കുറച്ച് പേടിപ്പെട്ടു. Predacious emoticons and endangered letters. I thought predacious was an interesting coinage, a combination of predatory and audacious, I'm assuming. And of course, the notion that emoticons are threatening letters is an increasingly interesting one. Because as we all know, and as you've heard all day yesterday, the impact of ideograms, graphic images, symbols, GIFs, emojis, memes, and so on the actual written language that people use on social media is already visible. And therefore, for an academic department to take note of this development and to address it is, I think, an extremely, extremely interesting and constructive development. You are ahead of the curve, and that's very welcome. Now, in today's age of rapid information, the information revolution, as people talk about it, and the speed of information, of instant reactions being at a premium, as well as the actual nature of social media, which caters in particular to short and crisp messages. We all remember when Twitter had 140 characters only, and everybody had to accommodate their thoughts and their words within a very strict character limit. Clearly, the more leisurely style of an earlier era became no longer possible. If anything, shorter, crisper, punchier, often abbreviated words became the order of the day. Social media became a site for brevity. And I was, as you all know perhaps, an early adopter of Twitter. Well before anyone in India could have anticipated its growth. I got onto it as a means of actually reaching out to all of you, my voters. During the result counting of the elections of 2009. And as I was posting the updates after each round of the results, I remember the astonishment I felt at seeing my follower count passing 100, 200, 300 in a matter of minutes. And I thought, wow, to reach 300 people during the election campaign was a considerable feat at any one time. And here I could do so with just typing 140 characters or less on my mobile phone. And that then became my source of inspiration and of why I kept going at it. And then, of course, I was promptly denounced by everybody else, first of all by the mainstream media at that time, which felt threatened by a politician bypassing them and going straight to voters. And then found myself also sort of rapidly denounced by the political class. I remember our current Vice President, Venkaiah Naidu, who was then the President of the BJP, saying too much tweeting can lead to quitting, which actually turned out to be true in the short term. So I did end up facing more controversies, but this is not a talk about social media per se, so I will leave that aside. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Because a lot of that happened 10, 11 years ago, before all of you were old enough to worry about social media. But in any case, what did happen was that I helped start a trend. A leading news channel gave me the Digital Personality of the Year award. That didn't help very much because though at that point, at the same function, Shah Rukh Khan, no less, said, "For me, God is Shashi Tharoor," which I thought was a particularly embarrassing but most encouraging word of praise. Shah Rukh Khan rapidly overtook me on Twitter, but by the middle of 2013, so did Narendra Modi. And now, of course, he's way ahead of me. And the result was that you found Twitter and the brevity it calls for gaining increasing acceptance across the world, across the country in particular. You may remember that cabinet ministers were ordered by Mr. Modi to all open Twitter accounts, even though they didn't have them before. We found similar things happening around the world. The British have instructed all their ambassadors and high commissioners to run Twitter accounts. It's now become accepted that this is an indispensable way of communicating, in particular with all of you, the young people of today. And in that process, as I say, brevity becomes very important. And soon enough, emoticons were invented, because the idea was, if you can convey through one symbol, through one ideogram, an idea, a sentiment, a reaction that would require a number of characters, sometimes even a number of words, to express, then you are saving the space that is not available to you. And as these emojis, as they were called, the Japanese coinage, began spreading, as people then started taking GIFs out of often frames of films, sometimes very small clips. So for astonishment, you get a whole choice of various actors, actresses, singers, and so on, expressing astonishment.